how do we start this?
I did so much talking before we started rolling that now I'm out of things to say. So you guys ask the questions and I'll provide concise answers. How about that?
Jumping back, what vocal warm-ups do you do?
I know I mentioned that, I have some vocal warm-ups I do, but I really only have a couple. There's like this one pattern of solfege, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, that I learned in high school that I do, and that really helps me. And then a tongue twister that I do is a song I learned at Boy Scout camp, which is the hardest part of it is flee biddly out and don bodoskidi non wadan shoe. So that's my favorite warm up, and that's kind of what I go with. I don't actually have a lot of warm ups; those are my main two. So
you said solfege, and I was telling them this last time when we were practicing.
No. Yeah.
So I did high school choir, but I don't know how to read music still to this day. Like I'm not musically talented really. So we have an assignment to like do the solfege and like mark like the do re mi's and like the sheet music or whatever. And I thought he said solfish, and I was like, "What is that?" And I was up till like midnight just googling like soulfish music, and I couldn't figure it out.
Soulfish?
Yeah, soulfish. And he was a really intense music teacher, and so I got there. I was so worried to be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Like, I couldn't figure it out. I tried. I googled. Like, I was trying to figure out the soulfish. Like the what? Soulfish? Like, he just gave me an A. He's like, you're fine. I got a pity.
It's high school choir.
It was high school choir.
Oh man,
go back to concert choir.
Good old days. I was in a jazz choir when I was 15, a competitive jazz choir, and then I dropped out of that because I wanted to play guitar more. So, and here we are.
Seems like it worked.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. That's the entire story right there. We're good to go.
Yeah, I have nothing else to say.
That's it. Well, we're gonna sit in silence for 30 minutes now. Wait, what was the last show you guys played? Was it Velour?
We did play Velour in August. Playing Velour was pretty big for us, but recently we just played, I can't even think. We played at Boardwalk recently, and it was nice to kind of get there and play some new songs. And then we're actually at Boardwalk again next week on Thursday. So Halloween show. It'll be fun.
Spooky. Are you guys dressing up?
I think I'm gonna dress up, but I'm not 100% confident in that. We'll see.
What's the costume if you do dress?
I don't know. I have this weird shirt that looks like Han Solo, like the whole Han Solo like V-neck kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so if I just buy a vest to go over that, I'm not saying I'm as good looking as Harrison Ford, but
you can just borrow my vest,
dude.
I got the Han Solo vest right here.
No, I'll go to Save. I'll go to DI or something. I'll find something. I'll look like a, terrible cosplay of Han Solo. It'll be great.
When was your first show? What was like the first time you played?
Was it? You mean the first Del Perro show or
first Del Perro show?
First.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, it wasn't with the current. It wasn't with the current lineup. We played at Ogden Amphitheater, and it was like a charity event.
Oh.
So it was like a really big stage, and we played like 3 songs. So it was a great. I learned a lot from that. I learned to not like cup the mic like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was putting my hand over the mic for some reason. So I learned not to do that.
Yeah,
that was good. Yeah,
learning experience.
Yeah. I think I was 19, so that was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Yeah. So
the pre-COVID times.
Dark times.
What?
Dark times indeed.
What was like the song that you were like, I'm gonna start a band, like to this?
Okay, yeah.
Like what was that kind of like?
Definitely The Introvert, which is the first single that we put out this summer, and that was, well, that's kind of a hard question to answer, but the most basic answer I can give is like, I was in high school, got my heart broken, and I wrote The Introvert, and I was like, okay, this is pretty dope. I hope I have a band to play with someday. And then I just kept trying to make it happen, and eventually I found the right people, and we got it rolling. And so we figured that should be the first single that we put out. the first studio recorded single, and yeah, it was pretty good.
I actually, on my way over here, and I've listened to it a couple times, I listened to The Introvert again on my way over here.
Nice.
I gotta say, I'm a sucker for a few different things that I noticed in the song. One is synth. I freaking love synth. I mean, you would know, that's what I played when we were in Tuck and everything.
Yeah.
But love synth. I love rolling bass lines. And just, I don't know, when it all comes together like that. That and your vocals are really good.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about the synth in that song is we have always wanted and are still currently looking for a keyboard player for Del Perro. But we don't currently have one. We're just currently, it's a 3-piece, myself singing and on guitar, Matthew is on bass, and Stu is on drums. And so we've always wanted a keyboard player, but just haven't found the right person yet. And I was a little bit nervous to add the keyboard to the song.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, we don't even have a keyboard player right now. And so our studio engineer, his name's Jed Jones, and he's at June Audio in Provo. And he was like, nah, man, just trust me. He was like, trust me. And so I didn't write that keyboard part. He wrote, I wrote some of the keyboard parts in that song. He wrote the intro. And it was just flawless. And I was like, great. Now I want a keyboard player even more. So I agree that it sounds amazing. And I can't wait for the moment when we find somebody who's really dependable and reliable who can perform that with us. That would be just a game changer.
Honestly, though. I mean, no, I really enjoyed it too. So, what is your band's name?
What's the name of the band?
We'll start with that question.
Who are you?
My name's Caleb. I'm in a band called Del Perro. I live in Salt Lake. The other guys are up in Ogden. None of us are from Utah, but we've all lived here for a couple years and all have a connection to this place. Like I've lived here for like 6 years now. So, and I was born in Provo.
Cool.
But I'm actually from Seattle, which is another story that I won't get into.
Unless you really want to.
Next episode.
Next time.
So we I can't talk. Yeah. We're an indie rock band. And we're trying to combine, I guess if you were to ask about our sound and what we're trying to accomplish as a band, I really love all the indie pop kind of stuff that's been coming out recently with Dayglow and Rip Momney and those kind of guys, like very talented stuff. Wallows is a favorite of mine. Kind of indie pop. I just always I also really love 80s rock and that kind of stuff, like The Cure and New Order and REM. And so trying to bring those two things together. I don't know how it turns out in the end. Hopefully people seem to like it so far. So that's fun. Yeah.
I'm glad you listed the new wave influences because I love new wave.
Yeah.
And just that new wave. I always confuse new age and new wave.
Yeah.
And one's like Enya.
Yeah.
YouTube. No, but you can really hear that in the introvert, especially with those synths.
Yeah.
It's very like punchy, it's very aggressive, but it's kind of cute.
Yeah. No, I think we come from a background of loving rock and roll. And the tricky part is balancing it and saying, okay, how can we be a rock band, but also, sound great, have a great mix, and, be poppy enough to get on the radio and like have people really like, if it's poppy and catchy, people will be like, they'll hear it and they'll be like, what's that? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And we want to be that kind of band.
Yeah.
I think.
That kind of differentiates you from other bands around here too, right?
I mean, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, oh, we're so special, but there is kind of this tendency, I feel like in Utah to, play the same two chords over and over again in your song.
Yeah.
And the just the basic indie singer kind of vibe, and I love that kind of music so much, but there is so much of it. And so I think at least we're really trying to be unique, and like I said, people seem to enjoy it so far, so we're just gonna keep going with it.
I like that.
Yeah.
What do you think that balance is like in a local music scene of like you kind of have to adhere to the style of that because that's like kind of what works in a way, but also like do you think how do you not get stuck in that? Like if you were talking to someone that's just starting a band and they like what advice would you give them, I guess?
I mean, I'm really not an expert because I'm just trying to figure it out. I'm always trying to figure out what works. But something I think is like, you take a song that a lot of people really love, and you listen to it and you kind of study it and you say, okay, what about this is really working? And you say, well, this one has a major 7 chord in it. That sounds really nice. And then you try to embellish it somehow and you say, okay, Matt, our bass player, he'll hear me play a major 7 chord and then he'll do something really unique over it because he's just a phenomenal bass player. I think he's the best bass player in Utah. And I'm not just saying that to promote my own ego. He's really something, and I respect him so much for his musicality. So to answer your question, I think if I was telling somebody, if somebody was like, how can I be unique while also fitting into kind of the indie alternative scene, I would say, well, just try to copy the vibe of what other people are doing, but you need to add something in there that makes it personal to you.
Yeah.
Whether that's, lyrics that reflect on your experiences, or if it's like, I'm going to throw a really bluesy guitar lick in here just because I want to. That's unique. And so there's not one way to do it, but if you can find something that, shows how much you love that style of music, but also something that's really personal and just is like a characteristic of your style, I guess. I don't know if that is a helpful answer.
No, that's great.
I think that's a fantastic answer.
I don't know. I'm just making this up.
Off the dome.
Off the dome. Boom.
Off this big coconut up here.
Some big brain stuff right there. I love it.
Only Rick and Morty
Not at all.
get this comment.
Not at all. You're talking to a college dropout, so. Yeah, man.
I would also fist bump you, but I have a finance assignment due later today. So
you're like, yeah, man, lack of education, but what time are we done?
Let's do it midnight. So I actually had a question for you, and you kind of answered this, but I don't know. I want to dive a little bit deeper into it. Do you, as you're producing music, do you focus more on the production value of it or on the lyrics?
So, yeah, I've never been very good at producing music.
Okay.
I've recorded demos for Del Perro, and I do that all the time. Anytime we're writing new songs, I record a demo of it. But I do not really have the patience for music production, which is why we saved up our money and went to June Audio, which just offers amazing music production. And so I guess to answer that, I really focus on lyrics and the songwriting and the guitar parts. And then when we actually go into the studio and talk to our studio engineer, that's when I'm like, okay, can you help us really make this poppy and special and make it something that really stands out. Yeah. And so I think I really focus on the songwriting and lyrics a little bit more. But that could change. If I learn a little bit more about it, like I like producing music. I just don't think I really have the patience for it. Yeah. So yeah.
No, I like that answer because I feel like especially now there's, and I felt guilty of this when we were in our band, but I feel like everyone wants to be like
their own producer.
Yeah, their own producer, like the next Jack Antonoff, like the next.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I don't know. I feel like we kind of hindered ourselves a little bit from that. Well, that was all me.
Well, and I love Jack Antonoff. I love Tame Impala, Kevin Parker. I love those guys and just respect the heck out of the ability to record your own music and put it out there just like that, and it seems so seamless, and everybody wants that. Everybody wants to be a prodigy like that. And truthfully, if I try to focus on too much, I spread myself thin. And I feel like if I'm producing our own music, I actually won't be able to write good songs. Like I want to devote my energy to writing the songs, making sure they really, really connect with people. And then we can have somebody else help us produce it. I don't think there's any shame in that. But there is this weird culture of this DIY indie culture, which if you're good at music production, you should do it. But I have accepted my limitations. I think. But you know, I just focus on writing the songs, making sure they really, really jump out and are catchy to people. And to me, that's my position, and that's what that's what I've become good at. And so I can leave the production to somebody who knows what they're doing. So that's how I feel.
Oh yeah, no, and it makes it way better too.
Yeah.
Like when, I mean, they're a professional producer. You know, they're gonna make sure you sound good.
They're gonna. It's nice to get coached on. Hey, you should sing this lyric with this emotion in mind. And I'm like, oh, I never thought of that before. And then it turns out sounding way better than I thought it would. It's so great to receive. It's so great to receive feedback like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Having that producer gives you that extra opinion, which is always valuable when you're producing music. And then two, I mean, it's like you don't, like you said, there's no shame in it. In hiring a music producer or hiring someone that knows what they're doing, right? Because then they're able to embellish what you've already created and package it up all nice and neat.
And you have to find the right person. Like you can't just reach out to anybody and be like, hey, you know, let's do a record. Like I think we got really lucky with Jed. Jed, if you're watching, love you, man. But no, we got really lucky with everybody we worked with, and the EP turned out just so much. I don't mean to say this to say, wow, you know, we're so great. But as somebody who's wanted to be in a band since they were a kid, it's like amazing to actually have music.
It's like a dream come true.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's cheesy, but you're right.
Cheesy, but yeah.
No, that's, I mean, I wanted to say that. I wanted to say, yeah, it's a dream come true, but I just sound like a total cheeseball.
What were you listening to like as a kid? Like what made you like want to do that?
The first song I really remember listening to, and my dad just being like, son, like you got to listen to this. And just being like, oh, my dad is kind of a reserved guy. And so when he's like, yeah, you got to listen to this music, you're like, oh, okay. You're like, all right, Daniel, you know? And he showed me Spaceman by The Killers. And it just changed my world. I think I put another answer in the form beforehand, but that I just remember that's the song that really, there's so many ways you can read into the lyrics of that song, and the production is beautiful, and it just changed my life.
Yeah.
So that's that, you know.
You mentioned, actually, just going back, because you mentioned the survey and everything that we sent to you. You actually mentioned The Killers on quite a few answers. Tell us about that. Why?
Yes, I did.
What's the fascination with The Killers? I mean, that sounds like I'm saying, why are they so interesting? Obviously, they're not interesting. I love The Killers.
If you asked me to make a podcast about how much I love The Killers, I would. Like, they're my favorite band. And so I will keep it brief, because if I ramble on too much here, it's going to be a problem. They're my favorite band, and they've been my favorite band since I was a kid. And they really, in an interview with a magazine back when The Killers were first becoming popular, their lead singer said, "We're a rock band with pop sensibilities." And I think that was so weirdly profound of him. To, you know, be a band that's focused on rock music, but you want to sell records, and you want to get out there and show your music to a lot of people. And I think that's what we're trying to accomplish. But I would never go as far to compare us to such an amazing, legendary band as those guys. So yeah, that's my brief statement, and we're not gonna talk any more about them, because I will go off the rails. I promise.
We'll make a secondary podcast solely dedicated to you talking about the Killers.
Oh, that is my phone.
Okay, can I just make sure? It's like
I feel like everyone at some point, and this is me, I'm probably opening up more cans of worms here.
Don't worry about it.
Just
we're
say-
here for the words.
Go ahead. I've been talking way too much, so go ahead.
But I feel like everyone at some point has been like, I don't know, touched by the Killers, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm.
That sounded kind of weird. Everyone has encountered them at some point, and just like there's one song from the
Like, I've never been touched with that.
He doesn't look as yeah.
But like everyone's encountered the Killers at some point. I remember for me, I was playing Guitar Hero 3. We were talking about this earlier, actually. I was
And
playing
when you were young.
When You Were Young by the Killers.
Yep.
That's
No,
you
I
knew
know
exactly
you know
what I
the
was
reason
talking about.
You know the reason I know is that our bass player says the same thing. He's like, yeah, I never really loved the Killers growing up, but I heard that song in Rock Band, and then he was like, then after I joined Del Perro, you know, Caleb really got me into them.
Yeah.
And so that's my fault. Sorry, Matt. No, that's the answer that I sometimes when I say, oh, I love the Killers, people are like Rock Band. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how I was exposed to them. But that's a legendary song. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
wouldn't take that away from anybody.
Yeah.
So where did you go after like you Spaceman dove into the Killers? Where did you go from there?
Yeah, Day and Age, that record was the album that record I listened to so much when I was a kid, you know, ages 8, 9, and 10. And after that, when I was a teenager, and I heard some of their earlier stuff like Sam's Town, that really that's my favorite record of all time, Sam's Town. By the Killers, and so that informed a lot of my songwriting. I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm really trying to copy that style of music, but it's, you know, you write what you know, and I know that I love that record. So
some heavy inspiration, definitely.
Maybe a little bit too much sometimes. But yeah, you're right.
At least it's the Killers and not like Ice JJ Fish. Sorry, Ice JJ Fish.
If Ice JJ Fish is watching, we're so sorry.
I'm not familiar, but now I have to check it out.
Okay, I'm gonna do a brief explanation, and when we edit, I'll put a video above. But no, there's this YouTube video, and it's like this R&B singer. His name is Ice JJ Fish. The worst voice. Like he's like, and nobody knows if it's serious. Like legendary.
Wow.
Ice JJ Fish.
Wow.
Ice JJ Fish.
I know what I'm bumping on my way home.
We are literally going to show you after who Ice JJ Fish is. We have
absolutely.
to at this point.
The next Del Perro EP is gonna have a lot of Ice JJ Fish influence.
You're just speaking it. You're manifesting it right now.
It's like so serious. I almost just grabbed my little lantern speaker and was like, "We're."
Sorry, Ben.
Whoa. All right.
Can you hear my lips?
Wasatch Radio.
Tuning in.
ASMR, I'm eating Sour Patch. That one was the green one.
Just drop like an ASMR album.
Just dude, I would get on every editorial playlist.
Ben, this one's for you.
That's the goal for every independent band getting on an editorial playlist on Spotify or Apple or whatever. That would be awesome.
How do you like? Oh, whoa! How do I word that? How do you? Okay, you got a release coming up. How do you focus more on playlisting? How do you kind of market it? Like when you're about to put something out.
I'm really not the best person to ask that to because I'm still figuring it out. Like right now we're pretty local and we don't have a bajillion listeners on Spotify, but the people who do listen to us are like, you guys are stupid good and we want you to keep going with it. And so right now it's like, we have a solid amount of people who are streaming our stuff, but I think the main thing right now is like we just put out the EP and now we're going to play just a ton of shows to get it out there. And I think that's going to drive the numbers up a little bit online. So I try not to focus too much on the numbers because, you know, if you do, you're always going to be like, oh, well, it's not as many as I want. But I think if we could, you know, I think getting signed to a record label would really help with marketing online and getting on playlists, going viral on TikTok and whatever. But I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. You know, it's, you know, I'm just doing the best I can.
Yeah. No, you're doing great.
Yeah. No, you're doing fantastic.
We're very thankful for everybody who's come out to shows so far, and we just want to keep. I feel like I owe it to our friends who have really like hyped us up. I feel like we really owe it to them to work harder and write more songs and, you know, play bigger shows. So we're really excited to get out there and you know, playing shows it's the best feeling ever, and there's no high that compares to that. So I'm constantly seeking a bigger dose of show, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah, totally makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah, it's like like the moments I miss being in a band where I was like, I want to play a show.
yeah, man,
So fun.
because recording songs is a lot of work.
Yeah.
and playing a show is like, all right, well, now that work is paid off somehow. I don't know.
Well, and it's a fun vibe being up on stage and having everyone dance to your music and everything, and just I don't know, it's kind of ethereal.
It's
being up on stage, right?
I mean, like, I'm not a rock star or anything. It's not like there's hundreds of thousands of people out there. But if it's just 5 or 6 people who are singing the words to a Del Perro song, that is enough to like make me really be grateful. It doesn't have to be even 20, 30 people. If there's, you know, let's say there's 40, 50 people at a show and 5 of them are singing the words to our songs, that's all I could ever want.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it feels great. It feels great to see somebody doing that.
Yeah. So what's next for Del Perro? Like, what are your goals, or where do you see Del Perro going in the future? In the next few years, down the road, 5 years, 10 years from now?
Doing a whole record LP would be awesome, and that's what we want to do. But being an independent band means you gotta have a full-time. We all have, you know, blue collar jobs. We're working full time to support ourselves, and so we're trying to get to the point where we can make money with the band and where we can make money from playing shows, selling merch. And you know, that sounds so wrong to me, because the whole point of doing music isn't really to make money for me. It's just because I love it. But if we want to do a record, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what I would say is we're going to try to play as many shows as we can, and really show our music to as many people as possible. And hopefully people want to buy a t-shirt, and everybody who buys a t-shirt is contributing to whenever we record next. So, yeah, just doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
When writing a song, it's like, sometimes I don't realize what it's about until I've finished it. And it just kind of comes out of me. And then it's like, all right, I wrote this song. And then as a band, we discuss it. And I realize, oh, this is a lot more profound than maybe I initially thought. Because I don't think I'm that good of a songwriter, but then people seem to like it a lot. And then you analyze it and it's like, oh, this is a really cool message in the song. So I think I'm still trying to figure out what the songs mean right now. The new songs that we're currently writing, still trying to figure out the meaning behind those.
Great answer.
That is a great answer.
That's a lot better than what we had before.
No, but I mean, you think about it, when you're writing a song, I don't know, you're in a state of mind, and you're not fully aware of that state of mind until after you're reflecting on it and everything and realizing, oh, I wrote this song this way because I was going through this, or this was happening to me, or this is how I was thinking about it, and I didn't even realize it at the time, right?
You write what you know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that can lead to sometimes, and I'm not just saying this about myself, but yeah, I feel like other singers can get in a rut where you're writing songs about the same things over and over again,
Yeah.
because it just feels natural. And so I'm always challenging myself to write songs about more uncomfortable topics that I don't really think about all the time.
Yeah.
Because it is natural for me to write a song about, oh, I'm in love with this girl, and she doesn't even know my name, like that. That to me, that was the high school experience of a lot of Del Perro songs that never made it to the finish line. We never finished those ones. So I'm always challenging myself to like figure out something profound that I would like to say in a song. I'm not sure if I always succeed, but like, it's all about wanting to convey a message of integrity and wanting to be as authentic as possible as a person. So
Awesome.
Wow, beautiful, Caleb.
Yeah, dropping gems.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna.
I have a hot take.
Sure.
Just totally out of the blue.
Let's hear
Random. Your vocals have a similarity, in my opinion, to Walk the Moon's lead singer.
Oh, no way.
Uh-huh.
Who's that? What's that guy's name?
I forget.
I
his
love
name.
Walk the Moon.
Nick Petrecca?
Nick Petrecca.
Something. It's Nick.
It is Nick.
I went through a Walk the Moon phase. They're not really in my top 10 or anything, but that whole pop, how does Avalanche go? Dude,
Avalanche is so
Avalanche
good.
What a good song. That whole record. And I liked Walk the Moon before they got big too. Like I remember listening to them on like Bandcamp when I was like 12
Oh,
or
wow.
13 or something. I don't remember how old I was. But like I was like, oh, this band's really good. And then Shut Up and Dance obviously became the most played song on the radio.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the hipster kid. I liked them before they got big. I was just so stereotypically hipster. This cringe. So no, that's such a huge compliment of you.
Yeah.
And I think I've really tried to become a better singer over the years. Like, in high school, in choir, the other guys would look over at me and be like, hey man, like, don't try to sing those high notes. like your voice is cracking so much. And so, one person can take that experience and say, wow, I'm not going to sing anymore. People are mean. But I was like, well, maybe if I really, really try, I can get better. And that was such a rewarding decision. Maybe if I really train and take lessons and go out and street perform when I'm a teenager, even if people yell at me and honk at me in their cars, I'm still going to do it. And it really paid off because now I feel like I am a confident singer. I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say I'm any better than anybody else. Like there's some fantastic, phenomenal singers out there that I just can't ever hope to measure up to. But I think I've really worked hard to become better. So that compliment just means the world, man.
Of course. Yeah. No, you've got a really good voice. I would say that that's one of the highlights from your songs and everything.
That's
your
so
voice.
nice, man.
It's such a trademark when you have a good voice like that. So
I hope that it's distinct at least.
Yeah. Definitely.
Even if it's not as amazing as Walk the Moon, their singer, so good. I've had people say I sound like Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. I don't really notice that, and that's not what I'm trying to do, but that's so flattering because those guys are insane to be even remotely compared to someone as talented as those singers. Wow, it's amazing. So I don't even know what to say. I kind of think it's something to say.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, like I don't know. I like to think of singers. I mean, this isn't even related, but I just thought of this. Yeah. I think of singers like two categories. There's like the Adeles and the just the crazy like vocalists, like. But then like I don't know. I don't think there's such thing as like even like a bad singer. Like there's really distinct voices. Like the 1975 guy, Matt Healy.
Oh my gosh, so good,
so good. I don't think he's like in the Adele category. Like you know his voice, it's so good. Like like you just kind of have to find it.
There's a character to everyone's voice, and so I actually teach voice lessons now. That's my full-time job as a piano teacher, music teacher. Not like at a high school. I'm not like conducting everybody, but I teach private music lessons now. And what I always try to tell people who are just starting to sing is you don't have to copy somebody else's voice. If you really like the way somebody sings, you can try to emulate that and be confident. But sooner or later, you're going to realize your voice is really special in a certain way, and you should lean into that instead of trying to be somebody else. That doesn't mean that you can't try to sing high notes like your favorite singers. Like I remember being younger, trying to sing with Freddie Mercury and just completely failing all the time because that man was just one of the most amazing singers of all time. You can still try to sing like your favorite singers, but there comes a certain point when if you're trying to make it as a professional musician that you really want to lean into the characteristics of your own voice. So I don't know how good of a job I've been doing at that, but it's something that I'm mindful of.
One last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have them choose a record.
Oh, yeah.
And then explain why you chose that record.
Yeah. Do you want to look
One of
those?
these?
Yeah.
Just, if there's a record you want to start.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully I can find
Mhm.
I know I say I'm a hipster, but I'm pretty limited.
If there's not, you're good. I've got
Well, you're talking to the guy who says he has good musical taste and then defaults to Coldplay every time.
Here
So.
we go. This caught my eye right away. Oh, you got the new 1975 record.
Oh.
Mm.
Ooh.
All right. So
Yes.
Take a seat.
actually, wait, there's some other ones in here though.
Oh, yeah, look through. I don't know if I've got some.
You got Russian Blood too. Oh man.
This guy.
Oh man. I'm looking. Oh wait. The Postal Service.
Oh,
Oh.
There's no contest.
No contest.
Sorry. It's happening.
I'm just honored that you picked.
No.
Oh.
Hang
Oh
on.
yeah.
I keep saying one that I like even more than the last. Bad Blood, Russian Blood. This one.
The fact that you went through.
This is the one. This is the one. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So what's the question?
Oh, just talk about what.
Just talk about it.
So, I think I would choose out of the records they got back there. Plans, Death Cab for Cutie. This is the first. I'm such a nerd. This is the first record that they did with Atlantic Records. After they blew up with Transatlanticism, one of my all-time favorite bands. And they're from the Seattle area, just like me. So that gives me kind of a personal connection to them. And I remember I mentioned my dad earlier, how a lot of my dad's music taste rubbed off on me.
Mhm.
And my dad, for a school assignment, I think I had to ask my dad about some music that he liked. And he played the first song on this record, which is called Marching Bands of Manhattan. And it's that was a really special moment. And I was just like, I didn't know music could be that good. I didn't know that was possible. And this whole album is great, but I feel like the first song is just severely underrated. And wow, what an amazing record. I don't know if this is probably in my top 5 favorite records of all time. Maybe top 10. I don't know. Top 10, top 5. Amazing. Brings me to tears. It's awesome. So thank you so much. Wow, that really makes me happy that somebody has that on vinyl.
Yeah, no, dude, freaking like I remember.
What do you have a favorite song on there?
I gotta look again.
Yeah,
because like marching bands is so good.
Oh my gosh. Your love is gonna drown.
And I just I don't know if I could do anymore. I do the exact one word.
Yeah,
I could just like I could feel it.
So awesome, dude. This one's good too.
Yeah,
Different
underrated.
names. Seriously.
Crooked Teeth is a banger.
Oh my gosh.
I love Brothers on a Hotel Bed. What's
every song in here is good. I used to not like Stable Song, but because it's so slow, it's like such a slow tempo song.
Have you heard Stability? It's like an earlier version of this on one of the photo album.
Is it on the photo album?
Yeah, and it's like it's the same, but it's like weirder. Recommend.
Oh, I think I've heard the band demo of Stable Song. Interesting.
Yeah, give it a go,
dude. Ben Gibbard, fantastic songwriter.
Mhm.
I can't believe I didn't mention him throughout the whole interview. I remember hearing this record as a kid and just, like I said, just being like, I didn't know music, because you grow up and your parents are listening to religious music and you're like, you really want to get into rock and roll, but the grungy stuff is too scary at first.
Yeah.
You're not ready for Sam's Town quite yet.
Yeah.
And then you hear this and you're like, my whole world is different.
Yeah.
I remember my brother like burning me a CD from iTunes, just like songs. It was a bunch of Death Cab on it. I remember listening to like Marching Bands was on there.
Yeah.
Transatlanticism was on there.
Yeah,
Like, the title track.
That's such a good track.
Oh my god.
Lack of Color was on there.
A lack of color here.
Well, I just remember listening to him and I'm like, why do I feel weird listening to? Not weird, but I was like, what is
your heart.
There's
your
that
heart
emotional.
is like, oh man,
Yeah.
we're just a bunch of simps for Ben Gibbard.
I would
but
die for Ben.
but oh my gosh, wow, yeah, that's. While it's not my favorite Death Cab album, it's probably the best one.
Wait,
Also-
what's your favorite?
Probably Kintsugi.
Oh,
2015.
Kintsugi rips.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta show you something. After this, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got to comment. The fact
Sure.
that you went through those albums and went Bastille,
Yeah.
that was my first concert ever.
Really?
Freaking at UCC.
What a good band. Yeah.
They're so. You were there
I was
too.
there, yeah.
You were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Yumi and then Clayton Alvey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was fun.
That was
Where
so
was
much fun.
where was that?
UCCU Center, just at
UVU.
UVU. Yeah. It was so good. So then you went from Bastille to A Rush of Blood to the Head, which is my favorite album of all time.
You like?
I
oh,
freaking love
you
A
love
Rush of
early
Blood to the
Coldplay.
Head.
I-
It's so good.
I have I outgrown Coldplay? No, but they used to be like one of my absolute favorite bands.
Yeah.
And now they're probably in the top 20.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've developed my musical taste, but still those early Coldplay albums is so influential.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh. So
It's so underrated too, because a lot of people
Yes.
when they think of Coldplay, they think Viva La Vida,
Yeah.
Paradise,
I
and
do
these big
like
songs.
I do like
them.
Viva La Vida.
Oh, yeah.
That
No.
record's awesome.
Don't get me wrong. I listened to Music of the Spheres 50 times through.
Yeah.
It's their newest album, and it's full of pop and K-pop and stuff that I would never listen to. But I'm
Yeah.
such a if we're using that
Chris Martin stan,
yeah, I'm such a Chris Martin stan at this point that I even dragged my wife out to Tampa to go watch their
wow,
concert.
that's awesome.
But yeah,
It's a stadium show.
exactly. But
Wow.
I mean, nothing beats A Rush of Blood to the Head, in my opinion. It's
so humble.
It's so humble. It's so simple. Yeah, no. So the fact that you went from Bastille to Coldplay, A Rush of Blood to the Head, and then to Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie, like, my respect for you is just through the roof right now.
Well, and that Postal Service album, before I even started writing like rock music for Del Perro, I would make just awful garbage electronic tracks on my laptop at school when I was like 14 or 15 years old, because I was like, okay, I want to write rock music, but I can't play guitar that good.
Yeah.
So listening to the Postal Service was like, oh, I could make electronic music like that, and it was terrible. I will never release those songs ever in a million years, but it taught me to write music.
Mhm.
And so I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
For that Postal Service album, because it made me at least try.
Mhm.
Even though I will never show those songs to a soul, because they're so bad, it made me try. And then eventually I got good enough at guitar to get to where we are today. So probably if not for the Postal Service, Del Perro might not exist. So
wow.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's a crazy story.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We're so glad we could talk to you. Give your message to the people. Where can they follow you? What can they listen? What you have the last word.
Yeah, so we're just a local nobody indie band called Del Perro. And we're on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it. We're going to be playing a lot of shows next year, so come hang out, come dance. It's going to be fun.